اللي شوي بيغلب يعني الكاردياك سايكل، وخصوصا الدايجرام اللي راح تكون موجودة آخر إشي. طبعا إن شاء الله يكون خفيف لطيف عليكم، وإن شاء الله تطلعوا مستفيدين. حيكون في أسئلة بنهاية السيشن عشان تعمقوا الفهم أحسن، وفي نقاط بنغطيها بالأسئلة بطريقة أحسن. أوكي يلا نبلش. أي حد عنده أي أسئلة يقدر يوقفني وأنا قاعد أحكي. أوكي. فالكاردياك سايكل، أول إشي عشان نحكي عن الكاردياك سايكل لازم أول إشي نعمل ريفيجن بسيطة للهارت. الهارت consists of 4 chambers: right atrium. شوف بس الليزر، بين عندكم ليزر؟ right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle.
دكتور يعطيك العافية، بس السلايدز مش عم يمشوا، لسه على أول سلايد.
أوكي بينوا؟
هيك تمام.
أوكي. فعنا right atrium، عنا هاي الليزر، عنا right atrium، عنا left atrium، عنا right ventricle and the left ventricle. So important thing عشان نفهم الكاردياك سايكل إنه نفهم إيش الفالف اللي بين right atrium و right ventricle, which is the tricuspid valve. In addition to left atrium and the left ventricle هو mitral valve أو bicuspid valve. الآن البالموناري valve أو السيميلونر valve هو والأيورتيك valve بيقولوا لهم السيميلونر، شكلهم زي يشبه الهلال، نص الهلال. أوكي semilunar valve. فعنا aortic valve and pulmonary valve and aortic valve. هاي إشي بسيط. لما بيجي البلد بيجتمع من كل الجسم from superior vena cava and inferior vena cava، هون مش مبينة، بالرايت atrium. بالرايت atrium it gets contracted and it ejects the blood into the right ventricle, from the right ventricle into the pulmonary artery for the lung to oxygenate the blood. Then it go back to by pulmonary vein into the left atrium to get ejected in the left ventricle, then through aorta into the whole body to supply the whole body organs with the blood, the oxygenated one. Okay. هون overview بسيط كمان عن الفالفز اللي راح نحتاجهم كثير. هون البايكاسبد فالف أو الميترال فالف، ترايكاسبد فالف، هون aortic valve and pulmonary valve. Okay, so the cardiac cycle, it's too important thing to understand the cardiac cycle. Cardiac cycle هي كل الأشياء اللي بتصير من أول ما البلاد يفوت على الهارت حتى يصير له ejection لكل البادي organs, like when it is the all events associated with blood flow through the heart. There are two main concepts we should understand: systole and diastole. Okay, systole is the contraction of the heart muscle, mainly the ventricle. هسا جدا مهم إنكم تفهموا بالسيستولي إحنا بنحكي عن الفنتريكل، ما بنحكي عن الاتريوم. إحنا بنحكي مينلي عن الفنتريكل لأنه هو اللي بيوصل الدم للمين organs، هون لللونج، هون لهول the body. Okay, so systole is the contraction of the ventricle mainly، فبيوصله لللونج ولا the whole body. It's pumping action. Diastole is relaxation, where there is a filling phase of the ventricle عشان بعدين to get ejected by systole. Okay, so right now we should discuss something about timing. So arterial systole and diastole equals the ventricular systole and diastole, and it is equals 0.8 seconds. Why is that? And it is, by the way, it is the cardiac cycle, 0.8 second. When the atrium is contracted, the ventricle is relaxed and vice versa. Okay, so in atrium, the atrial systole is 0.1 second and the atrial diastole is 0.7 second. The ventricle, the ventricular systole is 0.3 seconds and diastole is 0.5 seconds. So we notice something that here the contraction on the ventricle take more time than in atrium, and that's extremely important thing. So it's
دكتور عرين يعطيك العافية.
اوكي اهلا.
السلايد الموجود لسه السلايد الثاني.
عن جد؟
اه
اوكي هيك مبين السلايد تايمينج؟
هيك تمام.
طيب خلاص مش حاطه سلايد شو. اوكي so الهارت sounds اوكي now it's ان شاء الله بس تصيروا سنة رابعة، خصوصا الحكي لسنة ثالثة، بس تصيروا سنة رابعة بالانترو رح يجيكم الدكتور يقول لكم رح تسمعوا صوتين لب دب لب دب لب دب. ايش هدول الصوتين وليش بيطلعوا؟ اول اشي الصوت الاول او الاس 1 بنسميه اللب، هو عبارة عن closure of mitral and tricuspid. طيب هسه السؤال، احنا ليش بالكلوجر بيطلع صوت؟ انت لما تكون فاتح الباب ما بيطلع صوت، تفتح الباب ما بيطلع صوت، بس تعال اخبط الباب او سكره فرح يطلع صوت. فعشان هيك when you slam the door or shut the door it produce a sound, okay, which is the first sound. The first sound is when the tricuspid valve and the mitral valve get closed, okay, and the blood get into the ventricle. So it is the first time, okay. Then the systole happening, it gets contracted and then it gets bumping to the pulmonary vein artery, sorry, and the aortic artery, okay. So here systole, here we talking about ejection of blood out of the heart, then and contraction of the ventricle. Then we're talking about diastole when the aortic and pulmonary valve is getting closed. So we're talking now about diastole when the ventricle is stop contracting and start its relaxation phase. And as we said, it is longer, about 0.5 second. Is that okay, guys? Is that okay, guys? Everything is clear? Okay. الهارت sounds, where to listen for the heart sounds, lub, dub, and when which valve you are talking about. يعني هون بالاناتومي، اوكي، وهون انت وين تقدر تسمعهم، اوكي. So here we talking about the pulmonary valve anatomically is here, but when you want to listen to the closure of this valve بدك تيجي هون second intercostal space in the right side, okay. Aortic valve, second intercostal space in the right side. That's extremely important, okay. When you talk about tricuspid valve, it is almost in the fifth intercostal space or fourth intercostal space, and in the bicuspid valve or the mitral valve, which is one of the most important sounds to hear, actually is you're gonna listen in the apex of the heart in the fifth intercostal space. Okay, this is an assembled ECG, okay. It's P, Q, R, S, and C. What each code of those represents. B is an arterial depolarization. Q or S is the ventricle depolarization, and T is the ventricular repolarization. Okay, why are we talking about those things? This is the electricity of the electrical signals that is sent to heart to contract and relax. So when we talk about depolarization, this is a signal to the heart to contract. When we talk about B, the atrium is going to contract. And when we talk about the Q or S, the ventricle gonna contract. When we talk about T, which is the repolarization of the ventricle, we talk about relaxation of the ventricle. One can ask me, where could we find the atrium relaxation? It's somewhere here beside the Q signal. Why is that? Because the QRS is much higher voltage than the repolarization of the atrium. So now we're gonna go to the phases of the cardiac cycle. Okay, so the first thing we said atrium, then ventricle, then pulmonary artery, then it gets back with pulmonary vein, left ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle, then aorta. Okay, so here we are. First of all, the atrial systole, atrial gonna get contracted. Okay, so it gonna force the blood to enter where the ventricle, the right side, and the right side mainly, and the left side also. Okay, so the ventricular systole is isovolumetric contraction. What we mean by that? Isovolumetric contraction. Iso مين انه ما بتغير. اوكي، الفوليوم ما بتغير. كيف الفوليوم ما بتغير؟ اذا بتلاحظوا هون كل الصمامات مسكره، فهو ببلش كونتراكشن، كل الصمامات مسكره، عشان بعد شوي كمان الكونتراكشن رح يصير اقوى، ورح يكون قادر انه يفتح البالموناري اند الايورتيك pulmonary and aortic valve. Okay, so هون الفنتريكولار سيستول هاي اللي بعد ما فتحهم. الفنتريكولار دايستول الآن بيصير closure لهاي السيميلونر valve. طيب why is that? Why it gets closed? It gets closed because the pressure inside the aorta and the pulmonary artery is getting much more higher than in the ventricle, so it get closed, and by the help of semilunar valve, of course. Okay, all of the valves right now are closed. That's extremely important. This is an isovolumetric relaxation. Now we talk about ventricular diastole, the second phase or the late phase. Okay, it relaxes, the chamber is gonna relax, and blood gonna fill the ventricles passively. Okay, something to note. Okay, there is an B wave, the signal just sent, and then you're gonna see the contraction of the atrium, QRS. You're gonna see then contraction of the ventricle. So the signals come first, or the action potential comes first, then you're gonna see the effect. Okay? Okay. There's something important to talk about when we talk about ventricles. Ventricular systole is 0.3 second. We talk about this. So it is divided into three, let's say, phases. First of all, you're gonna see isovolumetric contraction of equal 0.01 seconds, okay? Then rapid ejection period and slow ejection period. And this is gonna be illustrated in the diagrams more and more, okay? The ventricular diastole is 0.5 seconds. It starts with isovolumetric relaxation of 0.02 second, then rapid filling, slow filling, then atrial contraction, and the cycle comes more and more again. Okay, diagrams, so important thing. Okay, to concentrate here. It's really easy, بس بنفس الوقت لازم تركزوا هون بإيش أنا قاعد أحكي. Okay, the signals come before the action. I say this 100 times. You should just try to concentrate. إن شاء الله الأمور بأبسط من ما تفكروا. So ECG is the signal. ماشي، التشينج بالبريشر والفوليوم هو ردة الفعل. تمام. So زي ما قلنا الالكتريسيتي بعدين اللايت. So action potential then action. Okay. الآن خلينا نحكي عن الموضوع، موضوع ال ECG in addition للبريشر. كيف ال ECG بيأثر على البريشر؟ أوكي، هون B high Q, R, S, and T, and the cycle repeated. Okay, so sorry. Okay, هنا B. تمام. B atrial depolarization, atrial contraction. ركز مع اللاين الأصفر. Okay, so atrial contraction, there is an increase in the pressure in the atrium. Do you see this? Okay, then the AV valve closes. AV valve, what is the AV valve? It's between the atrium and the ventricle, tricuspid or mitral. It's gonna close, okay? So as it closes, it is gonna make a slight elevation with the pressure, okay? Then the pressure طبعا كان صار عندنا ejection, okay? بعدين pressure زاد شوي، بعدين pressure build up ليش؟ لأنه لسه قاعد الاتريوم بيجمع دم. خلاص يقول أنا أول مرة عملت ejection للبلد، بس راح أشتغل بالشغل الثاني إنه أجمع دم عشان to eject it the next time. Then the AV valve open again. Then you're gonna see a slight, let's say, decrease on the pressure, and that's how ECG will affect the atrial pressure. If we talk about ventricular pressure, here we talk about with we're dealing with the green line. Okay, so here we are, the green line, QRS. QRS is about ventricular depolarization, ventricular contraction. You see there's a huge and massive increase in the pressure inside the ventricle, and the cause is the ventricle is getting contracted. This is really so huge. أول إشي بنبلش isovolumetric، بعدين يبلش high إنه fast، بعدين slow، بعدين it start decreasing لأنه it's there is a T wave that till the ventricle, yeah, you're gonna start relaxing now, okay? And that's the slope coming down until it's reaching its baseline, let's say, okay? If we talk about the aortic pressure, الأيورتا الدم بيجي من وين؟ من الفنتريكل، mainly من وين؟ من left ventricle. We talk about aorta ليش؟ لأنه الأيورتا it's extremely important، لأنه إحنا لما بنقيس الضغط بنقيسه أساساً، يعني لما بنقيس 120/80 هذا أساساً الضغط اللي بيطلع لنا إياه الأيورتا. Okay, so here we are. أول إشي هاي الإنكريز إنه ال ventricle gets contracted, ال semilunar valve open. When semilunar valve open, mainly the aortic one, okay, there increase in blood pressure here. It's really huge increase. Let's say not really huge, from 80, let's say, to 120. Okay, then it start to decrease لأنه أساساً ببلش ال pressure جوا ال ventricle decreases, so it start to decrease. It's a blood ejected from the ventricle. Okay, then it's the valve close, so you're gonna see a slight elevation. Okay, and then it's gonna back to decreasing more and more. Okay, but it will never reach zero. Why is that, and what's the importance of it's never reaching zero or never be lower than 80? هي بتكون lower than 80 in pathological cases, but ليش ما بتكون أقل من 80؟ لأنه البرفيوجن للكاروتيد arteries بصير متى؟ بصير لما تكون بمرحلة الدياستولي. لما تصير بمرحلة الدياستولي بصير في perfusion للكاروتيد artery, which is the main artery that supplying the heart. So it's extremely important, the perfusion. It should not be less than 80. Okay? Okay. Hon, we should discuss the ventricular volume changes when we talk about when we compare it with ECG pressure and ventricular volume. Okay, electrocardiogram showing B wave, QRS complex and T wave. اوكي هون بنقول ventricular filling mid to late diastole, هان ventricular systole, هان early diastole. So ventricular systole إنه the blood is getting contracted. The blood is ejecting blood out of the chamber into when into the aorta or the pulmonary artery. Okay, so when the ventricular systole start, you're gonna see this huge drop. Okay, till here تقريبا. Okay, هذا الدروب لانه البلاد راح من عنده till لعند الايورتا. اوكي سو هان في كان موجود ثلاث مصطلحات EDV, SV and ESV. EDV هي end diastolic volume، هي قديش في بلاد موجود بالشامبر اللي هو الشامبر قبل ما يصير contraction، قبل ما يصير ejection للبلاد. end systolic volume بعد ما صار ejection. Okay, it's really a huge let's say decreasing about 70 ml. So stroke volume is EDV minus ESV, which is end diastolic volume minus end systolic volume, and that's easily the diagram. You should read it more and more to just try to understand it. I wish that, and it's you got it. And if you have any question about it, please contact me on Facebook. Okay. Question number 1. Anyone have any questions, guys? حدا عنده أسئلة؟ Okay. Question number 1. Which chamber of the heart considered the thickest؟ لازم نكون شوي interactive مع بعض. Which chamber of the heart considered the thickest? Yeah, please, Hazar, talk.
Left ventricle.
Of course, that's the correct answer. Why is that? Because the left ventricle is ejecting the blood into a distant place. Where is the distant place? The whole body, of course. The right ventricle is dense, but not as that dense as the left ventricle because it's ejecting it only to the lungs. So that's correct answer. The second question is, what is the diastolic pressure inside the left ventricle in millimeter mercury? Okay, so this question kind of tricky. Why is that? You should, wait a minute. Okay. Rawash, please, do you have any answer? Okay. Okay. Hazar?
120.
No. If I were you, I will say that answer, but actually no. Diastole, it is relaxed. Look. Here the left ventricle, here in systole, it's get contracted. The pressure is high, 100 to 140, okay? And 3 to 12, he is relaxed. The ventricle is relaxed. I know the volume is really high, okay, but he's relaxed. We're talking about the pressure. The pressure is only 3 to 12, which is, I put 4, it is 3 to 12. So that's kind of a tricky question. Isovolumetric phase types is relaxation of the ventricle, contraction of the ventricle, 1 and 2, or none of the above. Do you have an answer? Yeah, talk. Talk, Hazar.
1 and 2.
Of course, that's correct. Perfect, Hazar. 1 and 2. Question number 4 is the atrial depolarization is marked by which wave on the ECG? So it is preceded by which wave? It is what? Yeah. Yeah, talk. No one else here. Talk.
هلا انت قلت preceded يعني قبلها عشان الامبولس
Yes.
بتصير بعدين ميكانيكال.
بالضبط.
إذا هيك
So,
P.
of course, that's correct. And the last question is why the relaxation period is longer than the contraction period? Do you remember that we talk that even in the ventricle, the relaxation period is 0.5 second and the contraction period is 0.3 second, which is still higher. And you know that the ventricle is needed to contract and to eject the blood. But why there is more relaxation? Is there more time for cardiac muscle to relax before contract? There's no specific reason for it, or so that more forceful is next contraction. What do you think, Hazar?
هلا I think C بس مش عارفة إذا A صح عشان أحطها D.
The correct answer is D, both A and C, because there is more time for cardiac muscle to relax, because at the end of the day, it's a muscle. It needs to relax and to contract. It is main mechanism, okay? And it's need to be more forceful in the next contraction. I'm really so happy to have you guys today, and thank you for everyone who attend. It really mean a lot for me. أي حدا عنده أي أسئلة يقدر يبعث لي إياهم على الماسنجر. أي حدا عنده سؤال على الدايجرامز يقدر يسألني هسه أو يبعث لي إياهم على الماسنجر. في حدا ما فهم إشي أعيده حكون more than happy، حكون سعيدة جدا، ما عندي أي مشاكل. أوكي، احكي هزار.
هلا بالنسبة للسؤال الخامس مش لازم، أنا فكرت إنه الريلاكسيشن طويلة عشان عشان more time to fill، مع إنه يعني في rapid flow بعدين slow flow، فهذا أحد الأسباب ولا بس السببين اللي حاطيهم السؤال الخامس؟
as I know ال A and C is correct. more time to fill أنا متذكر إنه الدكتور لما كنا ثالثة أعطانا إياها وقال إنه more time to fill it need time to fill. So يعني logically it's correct, but علميا و100% ما عندي فكرة، ممكن أبحث عنها وأبعث لك الرد.
تمام، شكرا. الله يعطيك العافية.
الله يعافيك. أي حدا عنده إشي؟
شكرا دكتور عرين، يعطيك ألف عافية. It was a wonderful talk. Unfortunately سامي join us وبرضه بشرى but she just left. Thank you for your attendance everyone. We still have other talks this week and we are looking forward to have you. دكتور عرين, it was very amazing talk. Thank you very much. وبذكر كل حدا بالفيدباك فورم الموجود على الشات سيكشن. We are looking forward تمام لنسمع your feedback وشكرا للجميع.
بس سؤال شو اسمه أبعث لهم تقدر تبعث لهم مثلا هسه أبعث لكم صفحتي على الفيسبوك عشان إذا عندهم أي أسئلة. Messenger contact me.
تمام أكيد, there is no problem. You can send it through the chat section. Link for your Facebook profile أو أي شيء, وأكيد أي حدا can contact you anytime.
Okay, I will put it. Thank you.
You can also يعني alternatively leave your phone number for WhatsApp contacts if that's okay by you, if it were to be a quicker way to reach you.
Oh yeah, of course.